Welcome back here to Delta Day Break. Thank you so much for joining us so early this Friday morning at about 6:15 as you're making plans to head out for the day. And we have Ike here. And Ike, so earlier we have Ike here, Financial Fridays. You guys all know that. So
Good morning.
But, earlier this week, there was a financial fraud seminar.
Yes.
And you were one of the speakers
Yes.
there for that.
Yes.
You and some other financial experts here in the area. And so specifically today, we're speaking about investment and also insurance fraud.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Why should we be so concerned about those? Because those are not, of course, we all know about the big, huge Madoff thing, but we don't hear about that so often happening right here in this area. Or do we?
Well, most people that are victims of fraud are embarrassed about disclosing it. That's
Okay.
one thing, but
Okay.
it's all around us.
Okay.
And you're exactly right. We had a panel discussion last Monday evening at the GHEC Center, and it was very helpful. We had a person there from the bank. We had a representative from Delta State that works with issues of business and global fraud. We had Mr. Mike Huggs, who is the division head for the Department of Securities and Charities with the Secretary of State's office. And so it was very helpful on that. And Jennifer, I must always say this, as we've talked about, that my comments are general in nature and not intended as specific financial advice, nor
Right.
do they represent the official position of my broker-dealer Woodbury Financial Services, member FINRA, FIPC, and registered investment advisor.
Okay.
So with that said, I try to touch upon some of the things that I hear about and I have observed somewhat through my career in terms of areas of insurance and financial fraud. There's an old expression that says if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably is. Okay.
That's a very timeless admonition, particularly as it relates to financial advice. But
Okay.
unfortunately, with most people that are victims of financial fraud, there's not a buzzer or alarm system that goes off that lets them know that they're becoming a victim of investment fraud.
Okay.
And that's what this was about.
So, but if we're thinking, okay, because if it sounds so great, then normally you will have some sort of a red flag that goes up. This sounds so good. It
Yes.
can't, just like you just said, it can't be true. But is it that we so desire to believe it? Is that what it is? Is that what creates that weakness and makes us go ahead and buy into that?
That's a great point, and it also could be with the reversals that we've had with the market and with our fortunes over the last couple of years. There may be more of an attempt to try to make up for what we've lost, and people will come into the marketplace that are not exactly ethical, and they'll try to take our money from us. Now, one of the interesting things the statistics point out by FINRA is that there are two primary age groups or demographic groups that are affected by financial fraud.
Okay.
Number one, obviously, are those that are retired or those that are nearing retirement.
Okay.
And number two are the millions and millions of baby boomers who are accumulating substantial nest eggs through their company-sponsored retirement programs, personal IRA plans, as well as savings accounts and bank programs. And they're subject to fraud. Interestingly enough, these statistics further point out that the average victim of an investment fraud is not that isolated, frail, gullible person you hear about.
Yes, because I'm sitting here thinking that the people who you just described, to me, would be someone who has more education.
Yes.
And so, but that's kind of the antithesis of who you would think would fall for these types of things.
You're exactly right. If you look at the statistics by FINRA, that person is probably college educated with above average income, has above average financial instincts, is optimistic by nature in their ability to make financial decisions. But also, interestingly enough, that person tends to be one who has experienced a health issue or faced a financial crisis. And perhaps that's where the financial fraudsters find their victims for this type of thing.
Because they're smart.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys are. They are. So what are some of the things that we can look for? I guess.
Sure. Exactly.
How do I know that I'm being duped?
Well, first of all, you've got to understand the tactics of someone that's wanting to commit investment insurance fraud on you. And their tactics are to get in a very sublime way to not disturb things too much by coming in kind of with a few questions such as questions about your family, questions about your job, your political views, something like that. But once they get that information on you, then they're able very quickly and very craftily to decide how to manipulate you to get you to make the decision you want to make. I always like to bring up the point, Jennifer, that any well-meaning, sincere, ethically trained financial advisor or representative does have to spend time visiting with their clients from time to time, or visiting with those people that they want to work with, to ascertain what are their goals, their ambitions, their needs. That's just part of the process. But once again, the devil to the detail here is in figuring out who is going to be sincerely interested and ethical with your money, and who's just trying to take you on a ride. On a ride.
Yeah, on a bad ride.
There are a couple of things that we can do. Number one, we also like to say, know how to end the conversation very quickly.
Okay.
Now, my mother's excellent about this. When someone calls her on the phone, she says, "No, thank you, I am not interested," and she hangs up. And that works, Jennifer, that works just as well now as it ever did. We've also heard that having a well-rehearsed, good tactic, knowing in advance of what you're going to say when that person calls, helps. It's also good to use a line, if you will, that I will contact you back if I am interested, is very helpful. Some people...
and the thing about it is that when you say these things, when you say I will contact you back, or when you say I'm not interested, I'm sorry, it's important to go ahead and end it right at that point, because people can talk really fast. Yes. They can talk really fast, and they can quickly say something that just might pique your interest. You don't have to feel obligated to stay on the phone and to listen and convince them that you're not interested. The hanging up convinces them.
Oh, exactly. Another great tactic we heard was to tell them that I'm sorry, but I don't make any type of financial decisions without conferring with my children or conferring with my brother, or perhaps using saying that they will have to confer with their attorney, their CPA, or their financial advisor.
That's good.
That's a good tactic. Another thing is knowing how to turn the table on the con artist when he calls. For example, asking that person to put his or her proposal in writing and sending it to you is not what that person wants to hear. Also, asking the person to produce some information to you about the firm he represents, making sure that his license is appropriate and up to date, and that his company is registered with the SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission, is excellent. Or perhaps if they're registered through the state, to make sure that they're registered through the Secretary of State's office would be very helpful.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Another thing is asking if there are any complaints. Have there been any complaints issued against your company or concerning you that is on file with the organization FINRA, which stands for the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority.
Okay, now if I were to ask them, do you have a website? If I ask them, do you have a website that I can go visit to check it out? Is that a good question?
It certainly is.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's not only a means of stalling that person, but you're getting that person out of sync. They don't want to hear that. They're wanting to put the lines to you pretty quickly, and they're not wanting to give you a lot of time to think about it. That's an excellent thing. Now, I did bring some numbers and some websites to look at if the viewership might be interested.
Definitely,
in that. Yes.
Please.
For general telemarketers that may call, there's a website that's called www.donotcall.gov.
Okay.
And that 800 number is 888-382-1222.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of times for bothersome credit card offers that are made, there is the 800 number, which is 888-567-8688. When I got out of college many years ago now, Jennifer,
not that long ago,
I would probably get maybe 1 or 2 credit card solicitations, maybe a month.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah.
at my home, my youngest son gets one 2 or 3 times a week, and he's a student in dental school.
Is there any way that we can ask, because it seems like I read something about this, that you can somehow request that your credit is not pre-screened?
Yes, there is.
Is there a way you can
Yes,
do
there
that?
is. Gosh, I wish I had that information for you. But
okay.
I,
Well,
I'm
we can just bring that back
Yes.
next time, can we
And
not?
by the way, I will leave these numbers here at the station if
Okay.
anyone wants particular numbers about this. There's also numbers that consumers can call to the Securities and Exchange Commission concerning their investor education and advocacy office.
Okay.
There's also a number to the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority number for questions or complaints that they may have. So we do have those numbers on hand. But Jennifer, going back to your original question, it is all around us. We see financial fraud in the marketplace all over, whether it's insurance, it's investments, whether it's dealing with issues of banking, issues of credit cards and debit cards, issues of identity fraud.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is going on much more prevalent in the society than most people would like to think about.
Yeah.
But it's there,
Yeah.
and it's with us, and we
And
need to stay informed about how
Yep.
to
I mean, it
protect
can
ourselves.
it can hurt you. It can hurt it can just hurt your future. It can hurt your family. So it's definitely important to go ahead and be careful about things like that. Thanks a lot, Ike, for joining us this morning and for bringing us this information. We
You bet.
appreciate you.
Thanks.
And thank you all so much for joining us as well. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. First, Stephen will let you know what's coming up in sports. Stephen. All right, welcome back to Delta Day Break, everybody. Right now, it is Ike Trotter, and of course, we're talking about Financial Fridays and specifically how to avoid fraud. How to avoid becoming a victim of fraud.
Yes. You know, that's the question that a lot of people say, how do they get my name? How are these people knowing how to reach me? And I picked up some information from this seminar we did the other night that this kind of information can very easily get into the wrong hands through, Jennifer, very legitimate means, such as public real estate records, tax assessment rolls, donations to public and charitable organizations, alumni listings, and a host of other sources. So as we were talking about the break, it is kind of a crux here between the access to for people to get information like this, yet protecting consumers and.
I just don't think they should be allowed to get that information. If I leave my name, all my contact information with a charitable organization or with my alumni group, why should they give that information to somebody else?
No question, and probably one of the best things we can do for our viewership here is I am going to leave these numbers about places they can call to make sure that they're taken off lists to protect them as best they can, as well as to access websites.
Awesome.
So that should be real helpful, I
Awesome.
think. Yeah.
Okay, and so we have specifically we have a website and we also have a phone number.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
But once again, Jennifer, going back to the first half hour we talked about, the issues of financial fraud in the information world that we live in, fraudsters are learning how to work that system. And going forward, we're going to have to be very careful about making sure that we keep our information as private as possible, that we keep good records, that if fraud is incurred upon us, that we know the numbers to reach and to call and get these credit cards or whatever else canceled very quickly, so we're not injured any more than we could possibly be.
All right. Okay. Well, sounds good there, Ike. And I want to go ahead and give people the website, one of the websites there for Do Not Call. You can go to www.donotcall. That's all one word .gov, and you can add your information there to that list.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Exactly.
And also there's also an 888 number there.
Yes, it's 888-382-1222.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ike. There's so much more that we can talk about with this, but unfortunately, we're out of time. The best thing that I can say is just, like you said earlier, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. On that note, we're going to head on over and figure out what's going on.